This constant access to information and entertainment have crippled our ability to focus, a skill that is becoming more rare and therefore more valuable. This video will focus on getting that skill back and produce more work that we are proud of and that displays our current skills. The following concepts are mainly taken from the book Deep Work by Cal Newport, and also some of my personal takes on some of the concepts covered in the book. If you are interested in going deep into these concepts, I did a full summary of the book and you can check in the link down below, but for now let's discuss why deep work is so important. There are two main categories of work that represent how we work and the type of work we can generate under those modes. And for the book, there's deep work and shallow work. So shallow work are typically tasks that do not generate a lot of value. They are easy to replicate and they're often performed under some kind of distraction. On the contrary, we have deep work, tasks that generate a lot of value. They are very hard to replicate and they push our cognitive abilities to the max, and are often done with no distraction. You probably experienced these work modes already without even realizing. For example, for a school task, you have, for example, a semester to do an assignment. During the year, you do a little bit here and there and you procrastinate while you are working and you are distracted. But as soon as you see the deadline approaching, you really put your head down and focus on finishing the assignment. That's shallow and deep work. Of course, that the trick is to take control over the deep work and really leverage our current skills. And according to the author, there's three main reasons why we should cultivate this habit. It's valuable because it allows us to develop new skills faster and leverage our current skills. It's rare because as the world becomes full of distractions, less people are able to go deep, and it's meaningful because we get more meaning and satisfaction out of being focused on our craft. You might be thinking that all of this sounds right, but you also know how difficult it can be to get into a state of deep work. So it helps for us to go into the nitty-gritty and really learn how to minimize distractions and cultivate this habit of deep work. Our brain really likes it when we define routines, so it helps if you want to introduce deep work to establish the rules of engagement up front. The first step is to define where you're going to work and for how long are you going to go deep. Make sure you find a location that is free from distractions to make sure that you really stay focused. Also define what you're going to do during that period of time. Having a goal in mind really makes sure that you stay laser focused on that specific task. And finally, make sure you have all the resources you need to complete that task. If this means any materials, any snacks, your favorite cup of coffee, make sure you leave no excuses to make sure you stay seated in that chair during that period of time you established. Personally, I like to have some earplugs and a nice cup of coffee in front of me, but this is very personal, so make sure that you go through the process and you will eventually find out the best way for you to start your deep work sessions. Because deep work is so effective, it helps if we only focus on the widely important, a set of goals that you established and identified as being the most crucial for your activity. These goals should feel somehow challenging and intimidating, but that's a good thing because it will make sure that you push through and you keep going deeper to make sure you accomplish what you set out to do. Usually businesses have what is called KPIs, or key performance indicators, to make sure they are moving the ball in the right direction. This also is very helpful for us if we establish these KPIs to make sure that our time is being used correctly. But not all measurements are created equally, and we should focus only on the ones that bring us value and something that we can actually affect. I'm guilty of doing this mistake myself, and I think it's something a lot of content creators do. There's two types of measurements. The first one is lag measurements, something that you can only measure once an activity is done with. For example, how many views I get with this video. On the contrary, there's lead measurements. Measurements that you can take while you are working and before you release something into the world. For example, how many hours I input to create this video. As you guessed, you should only focus on lead measurements, and a good way to track your progress is just by tracking how many hours you are under this deep work mode. And assuming that you will create your best work under these deep work sessions, you will naturally get better at achieving your goals and you will accomplish more just by focusing on the widely important and tracking it correctly. Somehow it became the norm to always be connected to the internet. Some of us already realized that by restricting access to it during more deeper work sessions, we can get more done because a bunch of the distractions just fade away. We cannot just check our email and just have a quick look at our Facebook wall. The book suggests that we shouldn't take a break from distraction, but we should take a break from focus. This means that we should make sure that deep work and no distractions are the norm, and sometimes during the period of time we will go online. By making this switch and assigning a specific amount of time we are allowed to go online, we are prioritizing deep work over shallow activity. And if you're like me and you need to go online to do productive work, it just means that your time online will be a little bit bigger, but it's still limited, so you will prioritize more productive activities over shallow work. You know deep down that you spend way too long scrolling through social media every day, and that time could be used to develop a deep work practice. But should you quit social media altogether? Just like a craftsman treats a tool, make sure you use social media to support your personal and professional goals. Do you use it to connect with your friends and family and engage with your audience? Do you use it to promote your art and be inspired? Or you are just using it because everyone else is using it and you just need some way to kill your time? Really evaluate all these things and quit it if you feel like it. You still exist in the real world. Most of the reason why we get so distracted is because we go through the day without having a structure or plan. This lack of constraints allows us to jump from task to task, from distraction to distraction, without even realizing how little we produce. By planning our day in advance, we are segmenting our long day into smaller chunks of time and assigning how much time each activity deserves. This plan will be just a rough estimation of what your day will look like, so you are still able to remain flexible and adapt to unforeseen events. This is just a technique for you to look at your day and really appreciate how little time you have to do the things you deem important to, and prioritize deep work over shallow activities. It turns out that being connected to everyone all the time is not as desirable as advertised. The barrier for someone to distract you and interrupt you is very low, especially with all this technology. Yet, for you to reply, it takes usually a little bit more effort from your part. A good way to avoid this is by becoming hard to reach, especially during your deep work session. Remember how fragile and special your attention is, so make sure that if someone wants to interrupt you, they will need to put a lot of effort into it. So fight for your ability to stay focused, and don't worry, others will understand. These are just some of the ways that you can use to gain control over your attention and really develop a good deep work habit. If you want to go deeper into this advice, again, I did a full book summary of deep work by Cal Newport. You can check out in the link down below and really go ham on all things deep work related. If you have any tips regarding deep work and your 2 cents on the subject, feel free to join us in the comment section below. Like the video to support the channel and subscribe to Rho Delta for more videos like this on all things self-development. And yeah, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.